Hi, I hope you're having a great day. Well, today I want to talk about vitamin Y. You've probably never heard of this vitamin because it's not a vitamin that we need to create nutritionally. It's not a vitamin that we can get in seeds or nuts or animal products or plants or whatever it is that you eat. What is important to understand is that vitamin deficiencies create innumerable problems in the human body. For the longest time, we believed that when there's a deficiency of one mineral or even just one vitamin, it can create innumerable problems. I'm going to give you an example before we get into this. Today, most people are deficient in vitamin D3. Most people are deficient in vitamin B12. Some people are deficient in calcium. Some people are deficient in selenium and zinc. And this affects several functions in the human body. So for example, for the longest time, we've thought that vitamin D3 is related to your bones, but it's far, far beyond that. Vitamin D3 has connections with your brain health, with your immunity, with the formation of your sex hormones, with your weight, with your ability to lose weight, with acidic and alkaline levels in the human body. So you see, when there's a deficiency, it can create innumerable problems. And sometimes, instead of isolating each of these problems and being treated for each of these problems, if you only take care of the deficiency, all of these problems can most probably disappear. The same thing with B12. If you have a deficiency of B12 today, you probably won't feel the immediate impact. But what happens, the cumulative buildup of the lack of B12 will eventually lead to neurological problems. For some people, it's memory. For most people, it's Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, and that's why you see it hits you at a particular age. And when you look at the life history of these people, they've had chronically low levels of vitamin B12. That's how serious a deficiency in the human body is. Because you see, the intelligence and the brilliance of the human body, it also depends on how many minerals and vitamins the body contains. And we overlook this. We look at a symptom and we treat the symptom with a protocol, not understanding that every human body, every human mind is different. And sometimes the deficiencies have to be looked at and all these problems can disappear. What I'm going to talk about today is not vitamin D3 and not vitamin B12. I'm talking about vitamin Y, which is you. Vitamin Y is you time. For some of you, you may call it me time. I call it you time. It's about you. You see, today, in most of the people I see, most of the patients I consult with, most of them have their food pretty well managed. Most of them are doing some sort of physical activity. Most of them are striving to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But what I see lacking is this me time. People are just moving on from one thing to another, leading these chaotic lives, just reacting to life rather than responding to life. And it is so important that so many of these people, sometimes all they need in their prescription is, hey, make 20 minutes for yourself in a day. Take 15 minutes for yourself in a day where it's just you and you alone. No technology, no Facebook, no Luke's videos, no Twitter, no Instagram, none of that. You put off your gadgets and you sit by yourself. No husband, no wife, no boyfriend, no girlfriend, no child, nothing. It's you time where you can sit in solitude. There's a lot of magic that happens when you sit in solitude. You start really understanding more about yourself. Now, a lot of people don't like this because they're afraid of solitude. They're afraid of being alone. They constantly need to be doing things, either talking or engaging in conversation or working or doing something. That's not a bad thing. But we lose ourselves when we're constantly living in this chaotic lifestyle. And sometimes what happens in me time is we start realizing and wondering, or even reflecting and introspecting on how our life is going. If we can't find 15 to 20 minutes of you time or me time in a day, then we're living in a very, very wrong way. If we don't have that time for ourselves, because I'll give you an example. There are housewives and so many people today who are so busy with children and then taking their kids for classes and tuitions and picking them up from school and then preparing meals and all of that stuff. They say, I just don't have time for myself. And all they need is time for themselves. So when you sit down with a paper and pen and you start writing down everything that you do in a day, you're going to find pockets of time that you're probably not aware are being utilized for the wrong things. Maybe half an hour for that stupid TV show that you're watching, or unnecessary time on social media, or unnecessary time on WhatsApp and forwards and all of these things. I'm not saying they're wrong for you, but all I'm saying is if you can organize this and take out 20 minutes for yourself where you sit by yourself. It could be watching a sunset with a cup of coffee or tea. It could be watching the sunrise. It could be just sitting by the ocean or doing something, sitting in a park or just in your bedroom, but alone. Because I'll tell you what's happening when we're constantly reacting to life. One big issue that I see today is people don't even know what their self-worth is. It is so important for you to know your self-worth, because I can promise you one thing: if you do not know your self-worth, someone else is going to tag you with what your value is. If you don't know what you're worth, someone else is going to tag you. Example, the corporate. I always call it the corporate lie, where you spend all of your time making money for other people. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It gives you livelihood so you can have a great family life. You have money to travel. You have money to do all of these things. But there are so many people working in a job that makes them unhappy. And that's not healthy for you in the long run. Most of us end up doing the things that we don't like doing because we don't know our self-worth. When you know your self-worth, you'll be in the right place. There are very few people who will have to be in the place that they are and accept things the way they are because of certain financial reasons or whatever it is. But most people, because they don't know their self-worth, they get stuck in a job that they hate, a job that robs them of their mental health, their emotional health, and their physical health. It's useless doing 5 days of CrossFit or 5 days of intensive training and going 5 days to a job that you hate, that makes you complain, that makes you feel negative, that makes you feel horrible about yourself. That's not healthy at the end of the day. But again, because we don't know our self-worth, we believe that this is where we need to be in life. When we're so clear about our talent, our worth, our skills, our vision, we automatically end up doing the things that we love doing, or we end up in a career which allows us to grow, not just in terms of designation, but grow and evolve in terms of career, ambition, spiritually, and everything else. So today, most sickness is caused because of human emotion, because of anger, resentment, guilt, fear, insecurity, not feeling good about ourselves, low self-esteem. And this tag comes onto us. It's given to us by, for example, a boss who thinks that, oh, I can't promote you this year because you're not good enough. So we tag ourselves low on self-worth. My boss doesn't think I'm good enough. Now, again, you may not be good enough. You have to work on certain skills and, all of that stuff and grow. But in most cases, it's not the truth because everyone can't grow. So my whole point about the whole thing is that when you introspect, when you make this me time, you start realizing, am I doing the things I really like doing? Am I in the right place? Is this job my only option if it's making me feel so awful and so negative? What's stopping me from moving ahead? What's stopping me from asking for what I want? There are the usual things that stop us. The main thing is our belief that we don't deserve it. The second thing is our low self-esteem. We think that, if I ask, someone is going to be unhappy and maybe I'll lose my job or people won't like me anymore. And the third is we just don't feel empowered to do so because we don't know our self-worth. But today, if you know this is my worth, and I'm not talking financial worth, I'm not talking about how much money you have in the bank. I'm talking about your self-worth. If you know, hey, this is what I'm worth. Now I want respect. Okay, I will command respect. I will command the things that I require in life because I value myself. If you don't value me, I'm sorry, I can't be here. I want to be a place where I'm valued because every human being, when they're valued, when they're acknowledged, when they're appreciated, they will thrive, they will shine. It's as simple as this in a normal relationship. If you keep appreciating your partner for something that they do, they are only going to do it more and more. It's as simple as that. But we live in a world where people are not paid to appreciate you. They're not paid to acknowledge you. So you don't depend on them. You measure your own self-worth. And you know your self-worth, your entire life changes. You start doing things that revolve around your self-worth. We don't build our worth on building worth that's attached to material things. That, if I get this fancy handbag, I'll be in a new circle of society. If I buy a fancy car or upgrade my car, people will look at me differently. That's not self-worth. Absolutely not. In fact, that's going to make you more and more depressed. You can have all the fancy cars and handbags that you want, but know your self-worth and know that if it's attached to a material thing, it is only going to bring you unhappiness and it's only going to keep you in the rat race. So when you make this me time, it allows you to analyze your life. Now, me time could be as simple as someone doing yoga, someone meditating, or someone just sitting and being with themselves. You don't have to try to do something. You can be listening to your favorite songs in your me time. You could be reading your favorite book. 15 to 20 minutes is what you need. And like I say, most people today who come with problems, they need that me time just to get their lives into order. Because the belief that we have today is we've equated success with overworking. We've equated success with working harder. We believe that you can only grow to the top if you work 15 hours in office or 16 hours in the office. So you wait until the boss goes, even if you have no work to do, and then you leave. It doesn't make sense. You're just ruining your health and you're living on a false path. So the idea is when you introspect, you realize that I don't have to try to please people anymore. I don't have to try to do all of these things ago. Now, all the strength to do what I'm telling you to do comes in your me time, in your you time. When you put you first, it doesn't make you selfish. Because most people today are running around trying to fill other people's cups, and their cups are going dry. It's like, again, the simple airline advice that when the oxygen mask falls, you first put it in yourself and then you put it on the passenger at the side of you. So you help yourself first so that you can help others. So if we're constantly going around trying to please people because we don't know our self-worth and doing for others, and we're not taking care of ourselves, we become misaligned, and then what creeps in is bitterness, guilt, anger, blame, all of these negative emotions that rot you from the inside like rust. It eats into your soul. It robs you of your spiritual health, your emotional health, and physical health. And you all know it's all connected. Physical health is not about having a six-pack or a size 0 figure. You have all those people who are highly depressed in their mind. Or you have the spiritually evolved person who does vipassana and yoga and all of these things constantly, but they've not invested in their physical self and they have physical illness. So it's about balance. And when you take this 20 minutes a day and it's only you start realizing what you're doing, how you're living your life, the things that you do. We're looking for constant motivation from outside. Sometimes it just comes from inside. You sit for 20 minutes and you realize that, hey, I need to live differently. I have no activity in my life. I will wake up tomorrow and start a walk and feel better. And then you introspect the next day and see how that's working for you. So it's called me time. It's called vitamin Y. And you need that vitamin every single day. And if you cannot make 15 to 20 minutes of time in a day for yourself, you're doing it wrong. Because no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to do it for you. Eventually, you're going to end up paying someone who makes you sit and meditate and do yoga and do all of these things and trying to create that me time. But even then, that's not you time. You time is you alone, without a teacher. You and yourself with a cup of chai, a cup of coffee, or whatever it is that you want to do. I call it your linchpin. We've spoken about this before. You know, a wheel, if you look at a wheel of a bullock cart, the olden day wheels, it had one pin. It's called a linchpin. That linchpin keeps the wheel together. You pull out the linchpin, the entire wheel collapses. Every human being has a linchpin. What is your linchpin? For some people, it's sleep. For me, for example, it's sleep. If I don't get my proper sleep, I cannot perform the next day. For me, the most important thing is sleep. Even if I have to sacrifice a movie, even if I have to sacrifice a party or whatever it is, that's my linchpin. I'm aware of my linchpin, so I'm going to work with it. What is your linchpin? You'll find out what your linchpin is when you make time for yourself. Because if you're constantly moving from one thing to another, you're reacting to life. You don't even know what is the right thing anymore. And then we start comparing and saying, oh, that person is doing this to relax. Let me try that. Or this person is doing that to feel good. Let me try that. And it never works that way because we're all different. So find yourself in your you time, in your me time. And the same way you make that you time for yourself, make it for your children as well. Make it for your teenagers. Everyone needs that little time to cut yourself away from this world which is filled with chaos and technology and all of these things. I'm not saying technology is bad. Technology is great. Over here I can communicate with you because of technology, but it has its pros and cons. It has its pros and cons, and we should never let technology take away our human essence, which is our soul. Have a great evening, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep. You can make this me time before bed, when you wake up in the morning, even in between your day. Sometimes I take a break in between patients because I want 15 minutes of me time to recharge, get centered, and then, I'm more rejuvenated to take on the rest of the day. It's as simple as that. There's no rule about this. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 15, it could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour of me time. It depends on you and how much of time yourself needs from you. Have a great evening, everyone.